Hi, my name is Natalie. I'm a gaming content creator and former Twitch streamer seeking to work closely with creators within my profession. Recently, I was accepted into a mentorship program with Queer Women of Esports, a nonprofit dedicated to making esports a more inclusive environment. As a part of the program, I'll be presenting a project themed around the foundations of content creation and the struggles that creators face as they seek growth. It can be really difficult to foster a welcoming community within such a competitive and toxic industry. I had the pleasure of speaking with Steven about this topic to gain his insight and learn more about his experience within the industry as an empowering creator with a diverse and wholesome community. I hope you all enjoy our chat. How did you first handle negative feedback and criticism? And do you feel like you handle it differently now compared to when you first started?
When I first started, and that was one of the things about learning stuff overnight during my drastic growth in the beginning, is that I thought I was prepared. I don't think anyone's ever prepared for like getting thrown, no matter if it's constructive, positive, or negative comments, right? We weren't built for that. I don't think people were built for that. Because I kind of already was set with myself a little bit. I had my own values, and like I knew what kind of person I was striving to be and wanted to be before I started doing content online. I kind of was doing my very best to not take it too much at face value, and just keep pushing forward with what it was that like I wanted to say, who I was, because I knew at the end of the day I wasn't a bad person, and I'm not like I knew in my heart, and I like everyone and all like the good people in my life, which bless their hearts. Thankfully, I had a lot of people back then, but like, and I still do. But like, it was one of those things where no one's ever prepared for it. You do your best with it. I don't think there's a straight answer for like anyone, or like what's the right or wrong way to handle it. So you learn along the way. I made some mistakes along the way, definitely, where like, oh, I shouldn't have like fed into into it, which I don't think I really did too much of at the time. I kind of did my very best to kind of like, I was just chilling. I was doing my own thing. I was like, for context for anyone listening, it's one of the videos that kind of like helped my growth in the very beginning that popped off on TikTok. It was hit with a lot of criticism from people online, and like from like a 15-second clip, and like that kind of like that definitely was very interesting to go through and experience, because like it's so easy to kind of like see things and make judgments right away online, and we are given so much information every day. And as someone who's a part of it, like I see it myself, but to really recognize like, what you see online sometimes is not like I don't want to say not the truth, but it's definitely not the whole story. And it's definitely, it was something that I had to kind of like reconcile with myself, that like, okay, like maybe no matter what it is that I'm doing, as long as like I put my best foot forward, and like I know in my heart that I'm not hurting anybody, I'm not saying anything wrong. Most of the criticism I got was definitely just people just not really liking my vibe, or like not really like who thought I was strange because they probably never met someone like me before, or just were just being like being contrarians for contrarian's sake, people who just like to just be a part of the fire, and so it was something I had to learn, where I'm like, okay, it's not personal. It is not like I'm not I think that was the biggest part of learning in the beginning, and like getting used to being a face online, that some people, a lot of people in my own world knows or recognizes, sees now. And so, yeah, I think as long as you are like, you know your values, you put your best foot forward, and that helps me a lot. It's kind of just like coming to that thought. What was your second part of the question? Or how it differs from now, right?
Yeah, because I feel like over time you'll change with your content, and maybe how you view the aftermath of that content might change too. So I want to see where you're at with that.
I feel like I've definitely become a little bit more jaded, but not. I don't feel like jaded. Like in my mind, it's not like a bad thing. I feel like I've gotten a lot more thick skin. There we go,
Mhm.
thick skin. I'm still myself. Like I'm a very like soft and gentle person. Um, but I've definitely gotten to the point now where I easily brush off a lot of things, and like I kind of pick my battles, and I do my best to even more so. I feel like in the beginning when I learned that lesson, I'm like, okay, it's not personal. It's like, just some not it's just it's that honestly, it's that age old motto. Not everyone's gonna like you in this life, right? And
Mhm.
like when you're kind of hit with it constantly from like the internet, like yeah, it could feel a lot like it definitely hits harder when you're getting it thrown at you constantly that like people just don't like you. But when I learned that lesson of just like it's not personal. Not everyone's gonna like you. Know your heart. Know what it is that you wanna say. As long as you're not hurting anyone, respecting people, you're like you know you're not perfect yourself. You're gonna make mistakes. Going easy on yourself. Where like it's like sometimes I even to this day sometimes I can't help it. I'm just like someone says a little snarky remark. I'm like I say something back, but like I quickly regret it later. I don't recommend that. But it's normal. People are normal. It
Yeah.
happens, and you do your best, and that's the best that you can do. Which is like a lot of this stuff online. I think that's another side to it too, where I kind of held myself to I still hold myself to a standard, but like not so much a pedestal now, where I'm not too hard on myself, and I can tell myself that even though you are a public figure and online, and like there are a bit of people like watching you and like your stuff, you know, don't don't hold yourself to a standard where like um it's unreachable where you have to be perfect all the time. And
Mhm.
so the lesson I learned in the beginning, it still remains, and it's still how I do my best to like handle criticism these days or whatever gets thrown my way. It's just more refined now. And I think another part is also age too, where I feel like there was a lot of soul searching these past couple of years, and kind of just like
Yeah.
reconciling with myself that like you're here, you're doing it. This is a blessing, and this is like isn't it wonderful that like we get to like reach people. We get to like do what we love by like, talking about our experiences, sharing like, um, a positive, a positive light into the world, in whatever way, no matter how small, no matter how big. And so, yeah, I do my best to just focus on like, on that and what is it that I want to say and do. So with my
Exactly.
content.
It's just
Yeah.
a small part of a huge life that you have. So
Mhm.
I feel like it's important to be mindful of the fact that you're only sharing certain tidbits, and there's so much more that's happening off camera that we don't know about. So no matter what people are saying or how they're reacting to what you're posting, it doesn't define that person who's off the camera most of the time. So
Yeah,
they
most definitely.
they don't dislike you, they just dislike what you're sharing, which it's still not great. Obviously, you
Mhm.
want to have people appreciate your hard work, but it feels better to put it that way because I feel like it becomes more of like, all right, well, that doesn't fully define who I am as a person. So I'm sure that if we met in person, they would probably have a different reaction and they'd think
Yeah.
differently about
Mhm.
me.
One thing a lot of people always tell me, and and I'm always very like it's one of the things I'm proud of. But whenever people meet me in real life, they're just like, you're a lot more chill and down to earth than you portray yourself online. And I'm like, it's because I'm just like, hell yeah. Like well, sometimes I think I must come off as like an asshole online, but like, but in that remark, I like, like I know like I do my best to really just see myself as the person at the end of the day because I know I'm not like I'm a good person. And if you can
Yeah.
kind of like, really get good with yourself and do the work and like working on yourself behind the scenes, no matter what it is gets thrown your way online, then I think it helps kind of like cushion whatever it is that comes your way. A thought, an idea, a mindset that I really hold on to, especially these days, is that, you are filling up your own cup. You're as wonderful as like outside motivation or outside voices, whether good or bad, is. I feel like at the end of the day, and the most important thing to do is like filling up your own cup, learning, like listening to yourself and really, really like understanding what is it that like, you is important to you, and like and whose voices are important to you. I think that's also another thing too. Is just like really recognizing like there are also going to be people in your real life who like support you and love you, and like
Mhm.
their words should like mean a lot more than like a stranger online. But jumping off of that real quick, I just want to add this into it, where I all the things I've learned over these years and how I've maneuvered with my content and myself and online. I feel like a big thing that I also kind of learned was I like to view everyone, and I feel like everyone should view it like this, but everyone's different. But I do my best to just see these are real people behind these usernames, because it is so easy to just see a username and um and just see text, But when you really think about it, these are real people behind the screens. Whatever they're saying, whether it's positive, good, um, I do my best to recognize that, because when I recognize that, I put myself up to a standard where I'm like, okay, how would I react to someone in real life if they said to me? Most of the time, I probably would just ignore it. For example, like if it's like a negative comment, right? Most of the
Yeah.
time I would probably just ignore it and like brush it off and let it go. Um, so in my head, I also think like, and also this was like a thought that kind of helped me a lot through like the rough times back then, was definitely like when I came to that realization of just like really driving into my head that like these are real people, and all the ones who are just saying a lot of like mean things or criticisms or whatever it is, like maybe they're having a bad day, maybe they are going through things, maybe
Mhm.
they're jealous, maybe they aren't happy with themselves or their lives, and I know how that feels. I know what jealousy feels like. I know what like being stuck in a rut feels like. I know that, and and even to this day I feel it. So it's when you can kind of put more human thought and emotion to the internet, which sometimes is like
It's hard.
it's a battle, right? It's a battle.
It is.
But yeah, but if you can do your best most times, and I feel like most people are just chilling,
Yeah.
it's very it's the eccentric ones that are like, what is that thought where like you focus on the negatives more than you do the positives sometimes. And so like I feel like sometimes we're kind of built, we're like, okay, all these nice things that people are saying, it's wonderful, but that one thing that other person said, that's sticking with
Mhm.
me, right? And honestly, like coming to realization of that too, like helped a lot. So long story short, I really do, I do my best to kind of just more so these days be more human online, and it's hard, but I think it's helped me a lot. It's helped me a lot with everything that has come along with this sort of work. So
I agree. I feel like it's important to be creative and share that side of yourself, because that's what people appreciate. They want to go see that creativity that they're not doing. That's why they're scrolling on TikTok. They want to see what people are doing that's fun and exciting. But adding that human element just reminds everybody that there is that human behind all of these creative, fun things. And it's not just all of that excitement all the time. This, I feel like, is going to be an interesting response from you. Were there any misconceptions that you had about creating content that you feel like over time they were kind of dispelled as you gained more experience and a following and started getting more involved?
misconceptions. I think just going back to what we just talked about, I feel like you know what we see online sometimes, and when you are in the position of creating content and whatever it is that you're making, I feel like for example, for me, I do my best no matter what it is I'm doing. At the end of the day, I do my best to make sure it's me, and I do my best to make sure that whatever I'm saying However I'm saying it, it is still Steven at the end of the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's so easy sometimes online to see, based on content, that you can view someone one certain way because that's all they're giving you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, there's so much more story in the back. And there's always a story going on behind the scenes.
For sure.
You only see like a little bit of it. No matter what it is that you're making online, I think some people can do it a lot more naturally and easier, where they can kind of put they can make their content, and whatever their content is, let that content speak, and they can just disappear into the background and not really ever worry about what people are saying, stuff like that.
Like
But
Beyonce, I feel like is a great example of that, actually.
yeah, totally. She pops up, makes her music, does her concerts, and then she goes and she's a mother, and she has her own personal life. Wow, you just compared me to Beyonce. I thank you, Natalie.
You're welcome. I'm happy to oblige.
No. It's hard to say. Because everyone makes content so differently.
Yeah.
For myself, in my own journey, because I always did my best to just do my best to be the realest that I can be, and the amount of real that I can give and want to give, there's only so much that I can share and would like to share, I'm the type of person, I like to keep a little bit to myself, right? And with my own content, I am personality based. I feel like I fall into the category of that's, no matter what it is I'm doing, that's Steven, So with me, it's a little bit harder to hide, because people kind of take you for face value so much because you are the content, right? And there have been misconceptions, but when people kind of get the wrong idea, it's human nature to want to correct, right? But sometimes it's impossible to correct because I feel like most people would just make up their minds right away before you can say anything, or even if you should say something. That's also another thing too.
That's a good point.
So yeah, I feel like based on how I've been handling and what I've been doing my best to do online with my own journey and content, I feel like that was an important thing to realize. Going back again to everything we talked about, I know who I am. I know I'm doing my best to do what I do and share myself with the world in a way that I feel comfortable with and would like to share. And along the way, I know that there's gonna be people who probably might squint their eyes a bit and be suspicious, whether it's a small or a big thing, was is he positive all the time, or what kind of skepticism is normal, right?
Yeah.
Especially on the internet, I feel like.
Oh yeah.
I feel like no matter, even when I'm talking about it, I feel like no matter how real you are online or would like to be, I feel like it's impossible to leave it all out there. It's impossible. And so, that's something that's how I've dealt with with that. I lost my train of thought. I was going somewhere. I'm sorry now.
That's okay.
I lost my train of thought. But I think at the end of the day, that's kind of that's the main thing. It's just the misconceptions. I feel like it's bound to happen, and because everyone's gonna view you in a certain way,
yeah, of
their
course.
own definition. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't do anything about it as much as I would like to. Put it all out there. Sometimes there's just it's impossible to.
That's understandable. I feel like this ties into what you just said really well. And I think about this a lot, how the version that, for example, I have of you in my head might be completely different from somebody else in the community who's known you maybe even for longer than I have or less than I have. And it's all based on our personal experiences with you and how our interactions have been. And they might have been exactly the same, but the way that we interpret them is what changes all of that and how we envision you. And that doesn't mean that those versions of you that exist to us are who you are in essence. Because who you see yourself as might be way different from how I see you. And that's okay, because you live within your own life, and we're not living your life. We're living our own. So we're just taking things at face value with how we're living our lives with you.
I agree. I like that. You put it perfectly. I will say this. I do think there is a responsibility, though. So sometimes where online with how you portray yourself.
Yeah.
How is it that, like,
for sure,
how you interact with people? I think there is that responsibility too sometimes, to going back to what we talked about earlier in a second ago, was just like, these are real people, in my own shoes, with my own community, and like my growth, and like the following that I've created for myself. Sometimes it's a little bit less unmanageable. It's easier to kind of like step away and kind of just let it marinate. Because I'm the type of person where I sometimes feel like I can't handle. I've learned this over these past couple of years. I can't handle constant like barragement of like comments and like people's opinions, and I have to step away, right? And sometimes when you step away, when you're in a place of influence, like influencer, whatever that means, it goes along with people's perception of you, right? Like you said, how like it's easy to kind of view someone differently because like who they are with like their family's different than probably how they interact with their friends, like
for sure.
At the end of the day, as we keep talking, I think a lot of it is just like, it's still human, like kind of like basic human interactions and basic human nature at the end of the day, like how a person is online versus like how they are in real life. There's a lot of correlations into that,
Yeah.
But okay, I'll just step away from that talk because we're about to venture into like
yeah,
psychology. But that's.
And I could go on forever, but I don't know if you like have a hard stop at 4. Well, 1 your time.
The way for I know it's a little later in the day for you, right?
Yeah, I mean I feel like I'm most awake at this time, so this is perfect for me. Yeah.
I definitely booked meetings at early in the morning thinking that that's the right thing to do, but then I realized that sometimes people appreciate a little bit later.
Yeah, I try to keep my mornings to myself so I can, especially because I'm introverted, I feel like I need that time to mentally prepare for socializing so that I feel like I'm in it as much as I can be. So if I don't have that time, I may not live to my own expectation of that, which is fine. I feel like I'm the only one who perceives that anyway. It goes into what we've been talking about. But
and that's another thing too, a good point. The who you are as a person. I'm also an introvert. Like, and I've always viewed myself as an introvert. I can chameleon myself in like social settings and like kind of like, go with the vibes and stuff like that.
That's what I do too.
Yeah, so like you get it, and that's another part of like this whole thing, like social media too. Like when I had my start versus now, how I dealt with criticism, how I dealt with misconceptions. A lot of it came down to like, damn, like I'm an introvert. I usually just I like my own time. I like to just the people in my life, the very few people in my life who are here already, kind of like get me already, So like sometimes it's exhausting in a way to try to explain yourself all the time or to portray yourself all
I've
the
been
time
there.
in the right way. Yeah, and you stream a lot, so like so obviously I feel like you're hit with it a lot too, with like being on all the time.
Yes, that's the perfect way to put it, and I feel like that's why I stepped away from it, because I felt like I constantly had to be on presenter mode. And I don't always want to be on presenter mode. I want to be able to just be with myself and enjoy my own company. And I can't do that when I have other people relying on me for entertainment or company or friendship or all of these things. And within the streaming industry, I feel like that's really expected. Like you have to be your community's friend, not just someone that they look up to and enjoy their content. Because if you don't even have a small element of friendship with them, they're quick to just bounce. And then you start to lose that sense of community. It's a really hard expectation to live up to sometimes.
It's not normal in the most positive way about it. And like, I don't mean it in like in a negative way. It's just, it's not like a normal human nature type of thing to always be on and like presenting in that presenter mode constantly, you know. People who can do it like naturally, like I applaud them, but like, you know, I think that's a very important thing to just realize it yourself. Like, I'm not built like that, you know. I feel the same way about you. I have to take breaks, you know. I have to like step away and like and eat it, just like with you, with my own like content, because I am kind of like the content. Like I feel like just because everything can be content now does not mean it has to be, and it does not mean that like I can uphold to that as much as I try.
Yeah.
So, you know, learning a bit about yourself, it helps a lot to kind of ease and go easy on yourself as you're doing this.
For sure. And I feel like this next question is going to tie into what you just said a little bit, but it's going to be more on the technical side, because I feel like your content has varied so much, but it's still, I'm so sorry if you can hear my cat.
No, I love it. that was a positive addition to this. Never apologize.
I feel like all of your content still revolves around tech because you still use a lot of it. So you've done gaming, you do photography, and now you're getting into voice acting as well. And even just the TikToks that you post where you're sitting with a mic, you're still preparing a kind of setup for what you're doing. So it takes that more technical knowledge when it comes to that. So I wanted to ask if there are any specific resources that you found that you've gone back to a lot to learn more about those things, and what do you feel like was most helpful for you when you were trying to figure out the best way to produce the content that you make?
Thank you for noticing. I do like quietly do my best to kind of just like whatever it is I'm posting, I'm like, I do want to add a little quality to it.
Aesthetic.
Yeah, aesthetic, right? So thank you for noticing.
Yeah.
I'm a huge techie. I love technology. I'm always like keeping up with what's going on in like the tech world, you know, because even though I am like my job is internet personality and like everything else that I'm doing, because we live in the golden age of tech, right? Like a lot of these things can like help you. They don't define you, but they can help boost a little bit in what it is that you're trying to say. I just want to say that real quick. I think no matter what tech I'm using, I think it's also very important to like to know like it's important what it is that you're saying than what it is that you're using. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But going off of that, the resources I use, I think a lot of it is just like because I've always been very like I love technology. I've always followed it. I've always do my best. I love tinkering. I think a lot of it is trial and error, trying out new things. I watch a lot of YouTube videos. I am a creature of early 2005, 2007, 2008 YouTube. Yeah, and back then I would watch a lot of people just like online trying to help people with that.
I'm so sorry. She's
no, it's okay.
There she is. I'll probably have to take her out. She agrees.
She's like, yes.
I'll let you keep speaking, but I'm gonna step away for a moment. I'll still be able to hear you.
And now the interview just lost 50% of its viewership.
Right. She's a hit with my community that I've gathered. Everybody always says, "Oh, I kind of miss when you streamed because I don't see Moo anymore."
I love animals. Animals are better than
me too. Yeah, I agree.
So a lot of my resources and things that I've I've used over the years is just YouTube. You know, like there's like many resources out there for you to learn from and do research on. You know, everything's at our hands and disposal. You know, depending on what it is that you want to do. Like with my voice acting stuff, um, obviously I knew I needed like a really good mic, and so I just like I asked people. Asking questions is also like lovely too.
Yeah, for sure.
I I remember a while ago I was talking to someone I met through Fiverr when I was Fiverr is a wonderful resource by the way. Especially if you have the resources yourself to like hire someone to help you with your creative endeavors.
Hmm.
I love like music, and like a while ago I was like I was looking for like some sound engineers to help me out with like some stuff I was like putting together, and through that relationship, I asked him and I learned a lot where it's just like, okay, what is it that like, because I feel like one of my golden traits with my content is definitely my voice. And so like, I would love to highlight that, no matter what it is I'm doing. And so, asking questions to people who you think might have the knowledge and the patience for me most times. Um, and so asking questions, and he recommended me a lot of like wonderful like sound equipment, and that's how I learned that. And then with like recording my videos, sometimes I use my fancy camera or my phone, like it just depends on what it is that I feel like you want your content is, and what it is that you want to say, and what it is that you want to portray. Like it really comes down to you are the creator. And like some people just like are the chillest motherfucker. I'm sorry, can I cuss?
You're
Okay.
fine.
Some people are the chillest motherfuckers ever, and like they can record with like a webcam and a little snowball Yeti mic, and I can't do that. I feel like I want to put like a little bit more for my sanity. That's just like a personal thing. But
It's a
some people,
production, especially
yeah,
if you're trying to get more attention from people who work in that field. You want to show that you have that background too, if not just
yeah.
I have the voice for this. You also want to say I also have the equipment for it. So if you need someone remote, I can do this at home, and it makes it easier for everybody. And
Most definitely.
I feel like voice acting, it's such a niche industry, and not a lot of people have that accessibility at home, whether it's because they don't have the knowledge, or maybe they don't have the space where they can comfortably do things like that. Maybe they live in a smaller space, or
Yeah.
a lot of people are at home, so it's noisy, all of these things. It ties into it a lot. My partner is into voice acting, and he follows this girl on TikTok named Astoria Redhead, who's from New York, also a redhead. So I don't know if you want to check her out, but she posts a lot of voice acting tips, and I thought that you'd probably be interested in checking her out because she's
I
great.
would love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, it piggybacking off of what you said too, like tech can get expensive, and
Oof. Yeah.
it takes up space too, and like
Hmm.
there's a lot to it, right?
Yeah.
Um, for creators, for people who just want to like express themselves, do this stuff, right? Um, even though I was saying like, like some people are like the chillest people ever, and they can like whatever it is that they use, no matter if it's like a really like little shitty 2000 camera, they can still make wonderful content.
Hmm.
Um, I think the most important thing at the end of the day, production value is lovely and wonderful, and like hopefully, like if that's where you're striving for, hopefully you can get there. Because I'm sure your setup took time to put together, right?
Oh, 100%. It doesn't look anywhere near when I first started.
Yeah, and same with me, right? And it's like it's just like with your content and growing as a person, it gradually grows depending on what it
Hmm.
is that you're doing, and like and how serious you are about it, and like the time you want to put into it. Um, and so with me, with everything, like as lovely as this stuff is, and because like I love what I do, and I want to do it to the best of my abilities, um and all that, like I I always preference, and I always say that like it doesn't matter the equipment. You just is you it really falls down onto you and like the tenacity of like, what is it that you want to say and do, you can make a little Yeti snowball sound amazing. I've done my
You
best, and if
can.
you work with what you have, I done
Mhm.
my best. Like even before I got all this stuff, just like learning like tutorials online, people helping you to like make you the best that you can be. And so it's just like, the resources are out there, and a lot of my equipment has come. I didn't have this overnight, and it's a gradual growth to get to where it is that you would like to be. Can I also say another thing? So speaking about voice acting,
Yeah, sure.
um, the voice acting thing is something again I'm very passionate about and I love. Right now, there's like a writer strike and an actor strike thing going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just wanted to mention that real quick because I fully like support it and stand in solidarity with them.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like no matter what it is, like in the creative space, as like influencers, as creators, especially with influencers and creators, I feel like it's easily um dismiss them because of like what people's views and people's ideas of what an influencer or content creator is. I'm sure you've heard this before, or seen it, where like people kind of like look down on you a little bit because like, oh, like an influencer, or oh, like a content creator, um but with everything going on right now, and just like, and with our talk today, it was something I was actually thinking about like these past couple of days since the strikes have been going on. Just like, I think creators and influencers are definitely in the entertainment industry. Like we hold a place in the entertainment industry, no matter what it is that you're doing, because at the end of the day, it's all content. It's all like it's all media,
Mhm.
Um, and so I just wanted to like add this in there where it's just like there's a stigma to what an influencer is or a content creator. Um, and for anyone, I feel like who wants to be in this space and do and just be creative and put yourself out there and do what it is that you want to do. um I hope that you will not be discouraged by titles and such. At the end of the day, you are putting something out there into the world, and people are going to resonate with it. I hope it's a positive thing. But like, it's we all stand, we all are in the entertainment industry, and we all kind of like hold weight into um, the zeitgeist of whatever entertainment is now, because it's changed so much.
It has.
Content creators are such a new idea, and it's such a fresh idea. It's a baby, like and it's only recently where I feel like a lot of just like outside sources have been putting time and money and energy into this space, right? But it's
Mhm.
still kind of like the Wild West. So it's um yeah, I'm going off on a tangent, but like I thought it would make sense to bring up in this conversation too, because like
Yeah, for
um
sure. Especially because of the idea that um, a lot of content creators are getting reached out to now to promote
mhm,
things that actors are not allowed to promote. And they're still trying to get that engagement and their income within a more unconventional route, I would say, and definitely immoral. Because I feel like if it's not content that you're working on for you, you shouldn't feel the need to promote it unless you choose to and you volunteer to do so. So it feels a little bit backhanded for them to reach out to people who
yeah.
are within a different field within
Mhm.
the arts and say, hey, you should promote this because I'm throwing money at you. That's kind of what it feels like.
It's very it feels like someone just backwashed your water or something. Kind of just like
Yeah.
it kind of just like it feels like not saying most of the entertainment space is genuine. But in this case scenario, it just feels even more ungenuine. Of like,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it is a business, right? The
Hmm.
entertainment industry, I feel like recently, because of like, even before like the strikes and everything going on, I feel like they know the power in which content creators, influencers have. They know the reach, right? So we've become this medium has become so much of a advertising and money bag, and kind of just like such a, I feel like an easy route for big companies and people in different spaces who probably maybe don't really hold this space, the online content creating space, with much respect, can look at as an easy way to make money or to advertise, to take advantage of, you know. With that being said, yeah, it definitely feels very ungenuine and very like it's very you see. I think right now the you're seeing what it's like um, in the back rooms of the entertainment industry, and you're seeing like the real hands of like what these people are willing to do to get their bag, to get their
And to exploit people.
that's the word, to exploit people, like you're really seeing it firsthand. It's just in that statement of just like, oh, the actors, these people who are supposed to be the main staples of this industry are not showing up now. Let's go take advantage of these people, and like, because they're influencers, content creators, they want their limelight, they want to like, they want to be taken seriously, of course they'll agree, right? And it's
Yeah.
just it just feels weird.
It is really slimy.
It's slimy, yeah. It's not something that I view lightly, and especially being in the space,
Yeah, I completely understand. And I'm glad that you brought it up, because it's not something that I thought about, because it's so fresh. But I feel like it's something, especially within the direction that you're going into, that it's going to affect you for some time. But at the same time, you can take the opportunity to just brush up on your skills a little bit more. So then once things tone down, you can actually reach out for opportunities, and it'll be more realistic to attain things when people are figured their lives out.
Even with that, like I also like it, like even if I was going into that space and pursuing it and I have aspirations for it, I think when I was saying that, like, content creators and people who make content online, influencers, we are so much so much more involved in that world than we give ourselves credit for. I feel like most times, right? Because it's just the landscape is so different these days. Like,
yeah,
people talk about like major celebrities versus like D-list celebrities, who sometimes they probably view as like the influencer content creators, right? But when you think about it, like the money, the viewership, the people go to where they go to, and I feel like these days the place to be is online. It's this is where like most people are on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, these spaces that like some people might look down on, but you can't help but realize, you can't help but just see like, but the numbers are there, people are here, and this is where entertainment is too now, and to dismiss that and to view that like as, to disrespect that in the way we're just viewing it like viewing it like, oh, we're better than you because we're over here, you're just content creators,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like slowly that is changing because of like the power that these spaces hold, and what people are, consuming and like wanting to see more, so I just want to add that in there, just because you create content online, or whether you're a big or small influencer, like you I feel like there's a lot of weight in that too, same as if you were like in Hollywood, or doing like acting gigs or something like that, um that's something, since all this has happened with like the strikes, I definitely was thinking about that a lot more. I'm just like, okay, like what place are we in this space, because it's something to think about, because it's changing, and I feel like right now it's changing before our eyes, the meaning of what it is to create content online, and to be an entertainer, content creator, stuff like that. So
I wanted to switch over now to the marginalization concept, but I wanted to touch on this before I get into that a little bit more, because I loved what you said about how the space is changing and there's so much more that content creators can provide that people don't really realize just because you're not an A-list celebrity. So what are some changes that you would like to see within social media platforms and even more long form platforms like Twitch and YouTube to kind of highlight creators a lot more and give you that value that you deserve?
I think people in the creative space and social media know it a lot more firsthand, about marginalization and representation and what is it? Because we are the people. We like the people on social media are so accessible and so vocal that like I feel like people on these platforms know it a lot closer and hold it a lot closer to their chest than say someone in a different industry like the entertainment industry. Although like of course there's like a lot of wonderful like progress going on over there. Um, I think one of the lovely and wonderful things about creating content online yourself and through all these platforms is that you get to speak your story. You get to share your your story. You have your own place on the internet. I would love to see that keep going. Right. I can't speak for every every niche, and I can't speak for like everyone. But personally, I would love to see more representation with women creators, whether that be in gaming, whether that be in acting, whether that be in like, I'm gonna be honest, in my eyes, I've always seen the social media space, the creator space, all this as a women owned thing. Cause I look up to so many women creators myself. So like when I think about it, like I consume only like I watch a lot of like lovely like Michelle Choi is one of them. She was like a
Oh, she's great.
vlogger on YouTube. She's lovely, right? I look up to her a lot, and I take aspirations from her content with mine. And so like like they have it down like that. Obviously, I'm sure it's like a learning process for everyone to find their space online, and obviously I'm not like I don't ignore the fact that like women do have it a lot harder being on the internet than men. I support a lot of just like women creators online. So to me, it's always been like very uh like that's the norm to me. But obviously I would love to see like a safer space and kind of like more is the word exclusive or inclusive?
Inclusive.
Inclusive.
Yeah.
Inclusive space for like everyone, not just with that, but also with like different backgrounds. And you get that a lot from like social media more so than you do with like traditional media. So that's something I would love to see. um I wish I had like a deeper answer to it, but honestly, like I just want like like more of a positive and like comfy space online for people to be who they are without like an ounce of criticism. But that's a utopia. But
That's a perfect world scenario for sure.
Yeah, but it's something like there are a lot of stories out there, trans lives, queer. It's just like there's a lot to be shared that I would love to just see more, and I want these spaces to like to be more welcoming of that. And yeah, and that's something I hope for. Um, with myself, the only experience that I have with that personally has always been kind of just my background with being Asian American, and like what it's like being an Asian American online, but not just an Asian American, but your own version of what that might be and is. Um, and I feel like these spaces give such an lovely opportunity to share everyone's experiences, no matter how similar you are, you know? And I voiced this a lot in the past before, but, my upbringing has always been a lot more different than I feel like what a traditional household of an Asian American would be like. And delving into the Asian American zeitgeist and mindset and thought is that we're already feeling we're already feeling lost in the world where like we don't know our place in society and stuff like that. And then now you add into how do you compare it to your own people too sometimes, you know, like what is the standard? You know, is there a standard to be lived up to? That is also, that's something that I feel like that I've dealt with personally a lot on being online, being a face in the Asian American community. You know, what is it that, how can I support my people, but still live my truth, you know?
Right.
And still tell people that this is my truth. And like, it's not very, like, you know, no matter, I have my own story and I want to share that. And I hope that people will like, you know, resonate with that, even if you can't, if you don't look like me or like, you know, grew up the same way as me. So, yeah, more of a inclusive space for something like that. And yeah.
And on that note, I wanted to ask, what are some things that you've done or maybe that you feel are important for you personally to adopt when it comes to having that kind of inclusive environment for your community specifically? Because these are things that I feel like maybe people will appreciate hearing so they can learn from it and maybe adopt it into their own communities.
I've been so lucky and blessed to be even say that I have a community. Sometimes sometimes I don't put enough weight to it. But when I think about it and like when I kind of do what I do online, the best way I can go about everything I do, especially with something like that, is empathy, is being understanding and open to people's words and experiences, and being able to like, you know, being able to like listen. I think listening is the hardest thing. We are thrown so much information every day. We read everything, no matter how much information out there is out there. I feel like the hardest thing for most people is listening and like really taking it in. And I think what I do my best in my own work online is showing a bit of empathy and showing a bit of just like an open heartness and an openness to everything, you know, because I don't know everything. My story is not like the only story. Like I don't have answers for everything. I can't do everything. There are people who are more suited to say and share. Not saying that my own story is not valid, but it's just that openness to just realize that you are not the only one here. There's space for everyone. There's space for everyone online. One of the most wonderful things someone has said to me on my journey so far, doing stuff online, was that there's enough room for you here. There's you are welcome. There's enough room for you. And I remember when I heard that, I'm just like, I can't believe this whole time I've been doing this, I never thought of it like that. Because I always felt like I gotta protect my space. I gotta like, you know, I gotta do everything to just like hold on to what I have. But when you kind of like ease off the gas a little bit and just realize that like, you know, whether you're a big creator, small creator, the space that you take up is enough and it's so valid to you. And I hope you use it with positivity and I hope you use it for good. And so that's how I been doing my best with everything. Just holding it with an empathetic heart and like a kindness and just really, like listening.
Empathy is so important. And I feel like a lot of people lack in the ability to provide that or the desire to even be empathetic towards others. It's always me, especially when it comes to content. It's so easy to be so focused on how everyone else views your content rather than what they might have resonated with, what they took from it, what made them feel good, what made them feel not so good. There's so much that people can take from a short video or even just sitting down doing a podcast, whatever it is that you're doing, that they will never forget. Just that one sentence you might have said. So it's important to enjoy those little moments too.
I agree.
Here's my last question, because I feel like it'll tie in really well with this. You've collabed with people over the years. You've done like one-on-ones, you've done groups, you've networked, you've done events, you've done so many things where you've worked with other people for different reasons. And I feel like you probably have learned a lot from those people. What is something that you feel like you learned that really has stuck with you over the years, that has been probably one of your most favorite moments collabing with somebody or working with a team or something like that?
I'm surprised you said that, because like I feel like I don't really collab with too many people. My problem sometimes is not collabing enough with people. I've been told by like people like why don't you like go and like hang out with these people more often? Like, do this or do that. Like because I don't know, I've always seen myself as just like an introvert and just doing my own. But I've done my very best to kind of like be open to collaboration, to be open to doing things outside of my comfort zone, or just like for like that comes along with this work. The one of the things that I kind of held on to since the very beginning, even before I got my start, was that everything has to matter to me and everything has to have meaning. Obviously, there's along the way, there's going to be brand deals, or there's going to be people that you work with out of obligation and stuff like that, right? That's
Right.
totally normal, like with any job. But for the most part, I feel like when you are in a space like this, where it's creative, where you are the content, you have the power to put out what it is that you want.
Mm-hmm.
You have even more power to collab or do things that make sense with you and that feel comfortable with you. And so with me over the years, the idea I've had always has been that I want to only be in things with people that like I care about, I like, and I'm comfy with. And that is held strong till this day. And that's something that I feel like has helped and saved me a lot of like grief, or maybe like uncomfortable situations.
Yeah, for sure.
Because yeah, it's like with anything. At the end of the day, everything we talked about today, I feel like it's like with anything. It's just it depends on you. You hold the power. So what is it that you want to say and put out there? And it was always important to me to kind of, no matter who I'm working with, like to do my very best to just like work with people I like, and all that. And that's something that I've learned. And then everything else you learn along the way too. I feel like talking to like companies and like how to maneuver like emails, or like how I rarely reach out to other creators to like and to ask specifically to create content with them. I feel like I don't do that. I don't want to do that. I always start off just like, I would like to be friends, and then like we'll go from there. Or
Yeah.
if I have a good feeling, like listen to your gut too. Everything we talked about, your gut and being in this space, like listen to it, because you will know when something feels off or like not for you. And like that's a lifesaver. That's something. And so
Yeah.
all these things that everything I just said, I feel like being a creator online, you hold the power. And so it's more you than you think and give yourself credit for. So like, was there another part to that question?
No, I feel like that was a great answer. I think it's important to make sure you're not collabing with somebody just because they have numbers or
Exactly.
they'll promote you or whatever it is. I feel like that can help, obviously, but at the same time, you don't want to put yourself in a sticky situation where you might do a live content, for example, and they say something live that you wouldn't normally condone from anybody, and then you can't go and edit that later. It's out there already. Yeah, and I feel like that's something that I've had a conversation with so far with all of the creators that I've been speaking to, how they're a little bit more hesitant because of that. I'm not sure if this person will hold up to my expectations of them. And you can only share so much of yourself so they can know those context clues and what to say and what not to say. So it's a little bit scary, and I can understand why you've had your hesitance with it. But I feel like from what I've seen, at least, everybody that you've worked with has been really respectful and kind and thoughtful towards the community, and everyone's felt really appreciated by them. So it seems like it's worked out for you.
I do my best. You attract what you give, right? And so, like,
That's true.
I think even more so when you're just creating content for yourself, you know, you are the person on camera. So, like,
Yeah, for
everything that you
sure.
give and receive, like, I hope is positive and good things. But, like, you know, I do my best to kind of just view it like that, where I'm like, especially with people, because these are real people at the end of the day. You know? Like, and I do that. I do my very best to see it like that too. Like, no matter how big of a following you have, no matter how successful you are, like, I really just I want to really do my best to just read and see if you're like a good person. And because if you are, then, like, you know, we'll be fine. Sometimes you have to take a chance, though. Sometimes you take a chance on someone, and, like, it might not, like, you know, turn out the way that you thought. You know, that's like with anything else in life.
Yeah.
And you have to go easy on yourself in those moments too. You know, like, 'cause, you know, I think that's the thing about being in the creative space and doing stuff like this, is that, like, with me talking to you now, this is just like me talking. This is some real shit, you know? So it's just like it's like it's so you based, and people are complex, and there's a lot of layers. But
Oh, yeah. I'm glad that you felt comfortable enough to share all of this with me, because I feel like we have a lot of the same values, and that's really important. When it comes to this project for me, I want to make sure that what I'm sharing forward is things that align with me and that I agree with. And I think that others will feel the same way. So I appreciate you sharing your insight and feeling safe enough to let me in a little bit more into how you view the work that you do and why you've come as far as you have, and how, and what you have planned for the future. I feel like it's been really valuable and helpful for me. So I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you, Natalie. And thank you again for just, you attract what you give. Thank you for the, like, lovely safe space today. I had a
I
really good time.
appreciate
So
it.
much. Thank you, Nat. Have a good day.
Thank
Okay.
you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.